Greetings, everyone. Well, got a Criterion update for you today. Yeah, you don't get those very often from me, do you? Well, the main reason being is they tend to be a little pricey up here in Canada land, so I don't tend to buy them very often. But that said, once in a while I do happen across some that are going for a good price, or I've got a little extra money that month, so I pick up what I can when I can. But I tend to be super picky about which titles I get from the collection. As much as I would love to just have all of them, honestly. I mean, the whole collection is just amazing. There's so many incredible films in it. But, yeah, I gotta pick and choose. Plus, I mean, supporting all the other boutique labels, what are you gonna do, right? You only have so much money to go around. So, this time around, I got 3 new titles from Criterion. Well, new to me, anyway. One of which is actually a recent 4K release, and the other 2 are Blu-ray. 2 of them are films that I've actually had on my radar for a very long time, one of which I have owned previously on Laserdisc, and the last item is actually a collection of documentaries that crossed my path quite randomly just through social media. I saw a clip from one of the documentaries on this collection, and I was like, yep, that looks amazing, I need to get that. And it turned out the Criterion set was actually quite affordable, so I snapped it up. So what are these 3 titles? Well, you might have seen them in the thumbnail, but just pretend you didn't, and it'll all be a surprise. Criterion Collection update, today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Now, most of you may know the name Albert Brooks as the voice of Marlon, the father of Nemo, that fish that keeps getting lost. Yeah, but what some of you may not know is Albert Brooks was not originally the voice of a fish. He was, in fact, quite a successful film director. And I recently picked up his first film. This is the 4K, by the way, which was Real Life from 1979. Now this is an interesting one because it kind of predicts the whole reality television thing a few years before it really happened. Now that said, reality television as we know it really kind of kicked off in the 90s with stuff like The Real World on MTV and whatnot. But that was actually not the start of it. It was not the first. A few years before Real Life, there was a show on PBS called An American Life, which basically just followed the day-to-day lives of a typical American family. And, you know, there was lots of drama and arguments, and I think at one point the wife wants to file for divorce from the husband and stuff, so it was crazy. I need to track this thing down. I've never seen it, but I keep hearing about it, and it's largely credited as being the very first reality TV show. Well, I guess Albert Brooks saw it and was inspired by it and thought, well, what if, you know, this became a bigger thing? So essentially that's what Real Life is all about, is he plays a, you know, almost a parody of himself. This obsessive director, producer guy following this family around, chronicling their lives. And yeah, and it just sounded amazing. I remember seeing a trailer for it many years ago, the original theatrical trailer, which he did in 3D, by the way, just because. And it stood out to me because it featured the paddleball guy, who I knew from House of Wax, the Vincent Price movie, which basically was the first 3D horror film. And there's a scene in that where the paddleball guy, the same paddleball guy, he was this world famous paddleball guy apparently, does his paddleball routine, you know, batting the ball at the camera and it flies out of the screen at you, and yeah, everybody has a good time. So this does include the 3D trailer. I haven't checked. I would assume it's in actual Blu-ray 3D. The version that I saw was on an old DVD magazine, hosted by Leonard Maltin, no less, in the old Anaglyph red and blue style 3D. So there's the front cover. Let's flip around to the back here, and I'll read through the description and the contents for you. Real Life. Decades before reality television reigned supreme, there was Albert Brooks' debut feature, Real Life, a brilliantly deadpan, stylistically innovative satire about the perils and pitfalls of trying to capture the truth on film. The writer-director plays Albert Brooks, a narcissistic Hollywood filmmaker who plans to spend the year in Phoenix, embedded with Warren and Jeanette Yeager, Charles Grodin, and Frances Lee McCain, and their 2 children, deploying an arsenal of cutting-edge equipment, including the over-the-head Ettenauer 226XL camera, to capture an American family's ordinary day-to-day. Chronicling the project's disastrous fallout as the meddlesome Albert can't help getting too close to his subjects, this pioneering mockumentary is more relevant than ever amid today's media landscape. Yeah, so with reality television being such a mainstay of popular culture these days, I mean, I watch a lot of reality TV shows myself. It's really interesting to me to see something from so long ago that just kind of got where media was going, like in 1979, you know. But I mean, that's Albert Brooks for you. He's very funny, but he's also very smart. He's a very smart, perceptive guy. So let's check out the special features. So we got the director-approved 4K UHD and Blu-ray. And here's all the special features. We got a new 4K digital restoration, supervised and approved by director Albert Brooks with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. So we got one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. We got a new interview with Brooks, new interview with actor Frances Lee McCain, the 3D trailer directed by Brooks. That trailer is hilarious, by the way. English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by film critic A.S. Hamra. So one thing was, I don't know, mildly disappointing was there isn't actually a booklet in this as we usually get. We actually have this fold-out pamphlet kind of thing. But if we take a look inside, we got the 4K and the Blu-ray. And if we pop these out, you can see the rest of the artwork underneath. And there we go, you can kind of get the idea there. Family testing. Oh, so trying to pick a family to do the thing. Yeah, I have not actually watched the movie. I just cracked it open right before this. And the reason I hadn't yet was because it had one of these stickers on it, which is, you know, the director's autograph. So I like to keep those with these Criterion editions. So basically what we have here is just a big fold-out thing. Can I even... There. We're not going to zoom in on that. And then on the back, we got a bunch of pictures from the film. So very nice, and it just folds right back up like that. Yeah, very cool. That there, I don't know how well you can see. That is the over the head thing, where it's basically they wear. It's kind of like an early GoPro kind of concept, but it's like this ridiculously cumbersome over the head camera unit. I don't even know if you can breathe in that thing, but anyway, yeah. Good stuff. Whoops, there goes the autograph. I mean, it's not his actual autograph. Well, it's his actual autograph, but a reproduction. A bunch of the Criterions have those, sort of the director-approved edition, right? So that is Albert Brooks' Real Life. And that is Criterion spine number 1231 for anyone keeping track. So I gather this is a fairly recent release. Well, 2024. It says it's 2024. I don't know if they had like a Blu-ray only edition or if they just put out the 4K. But I mean, either way, I would obviously get the 4K if the 4K is available. Next up, this is the one that I mentioned in the intro that I used to own on Laserdisc. I've been wanting to pick up the Criterion of this forever because this is such a fantastic film. And yeah, I cracked this open and watched it again as soon as it came in and just devoured the extras. We have one of my all-time favorite conversational films, My Dinner with Andre. Yeah, you guys have probably heard about this quite a bit because there's been some clips from it that have been making the rounds in recent years about how, well, another one that's very prescient actually, about just kind of where the world was going and how we've all kind of become media zombies and stuff like that. But I mean, basically, it's a movie where two guys sit down and have a conversation. You have Andre Gregory, who is this wonderful, world traveling artistic type. And then you have Wallace Shawn, who most of you will probably know from things like The Princess Bride, and he was the voice of Rex in Toy Story, and countless other things over the years. Well, Wallace Shawn is not only an accomplished actor, but he's also an accomplished writer. He writes quite a lot of plays, and he's done a lot of stage work and stuff like that. Just a brilliant, brilliant, insightful, and hilarious man. So that's the front cover. Just a lovely, simple design there. Very nice. And then if we flip it around to the back here, you can see all of the features, and we'll just quickly go through all of this. So, My Dinner with Andre by Louis Malle. In this captivating and philosophical film directed by Louis Malle, actor and playwright Wallace Shawn sits down with his friend, the theater director Andre Gregory, at a restaurant on New York's Upper West Side, and the pair proceed through an alternately whimsical and despairing confessional about love, death, money, and all the superstition in between. Playing variations on their own New York-honed personas, Shawn and Gregory, who also co-wrote the screenplay, dive in with introspective intellectual gusto, and Malle captures it all with a delicate, artful detachment. A fascinating freeze-frame of cosmopolitan culture, My Dinner with Andre remains a unique work in cinema history. So it reminds me in a way of what a lot of people were saying about the early work of Quentin Tarantino. Namely that there's this rule in filmmaking that you can't have talking heads. Like there has to be things happening. And Quentin's take on it was, well, it's fine if you have talking heads as long as what they're talking about is interesting. And well, this is basically 2 hours of that. So you got two guys sitting down, having dinner, and that's literally the film. They sit down, have dinner, and have a conversation, and it is so engaging and so fascinating. You just can't take your eyes off it. It's one of those great sort of just unique experiments, I guess, that just worked really, really well. I've seen a few other films over the years, short films and such, that kind of do the same thing. I remember one that was kind of a parody of Werner Herzog. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was a similar idea where it was took place in a restaurant and he was having dinner with somebody. But yeah, My Dinner with Andre is fantastic. I remember when I worked at Chapters, one of the fellows I worked with in the restaurant department was a writer and also did some theater himself. And he was actually looking at putting together a stage play version of that, and he was delighted that I had even heard of the movie because he said he talked about it with a lot of people over the years, and a lot of people had never heard of it. And I was like, oh yeah, no, My Dinner with Andre is great. I have it on Laserdisc, which I did at the time, and so we just got to talking about it. He's like, yeah, I was thinking of seeing if I could put together a stage play version. I said, dude, that's an amazing idea. I think it would work really, really well as a stage play. I mean, you'd lose some of the there's a lot of little subtle nuances, like sort of facial expressions that the waiter makes as he overhears parts of their conversation and stuff. So, some of that might be hard to not impossible, but tricky to translate to the stage. But yeah, I always kind of wonder if he ever managed to put that together. This was literally like 20 years ago. But, yeah, I thought it was a great idea. And if he didn't, well, hey, any playwrights out there or theater directors, there's an idea for you. My Dinner with Andre, I think would make a great stage play. So let's take a quick look at the extras. There's not a ton of extras on here, but the few that there are really, really good. So we got a 2K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, an interview from 2009 with actor-writers Andre Gregory and Wallace Shawn, conducted by their friend, the filmmaker Noah Baumbach, and My Dinner with Louis, a 1982 episode of the BBC program Arena, in which Shawn interviews Louis Malle, the director, plus a booklet featuring an essay by critic Amy Taubin and the prefaces written by Gregory and Shawn for the 1981 publication of the film's screenplay. So, yeah, not a ton of extras, but I mean, each one of those interview segments is, I think, about an hour long, so I mean, you do get quite a meaty sort of deconstruction of the film from both the director and its principals, and it's terrific. So if we take a look inside, Just a fairly plain case. I don't know that there's any artwork underneath. No, there's nothing underneath there. But we pop out the booklet. Yeah, there's like literally no artwork at all inside. So we pop out the booklet. This is a pretty good sized booklet. You get a lot of, and I like how it's basically put together like a screenplay, stuck together with the the push or the pins. And I don't know why you can see this, but it even has the detail of the print rubbing off on the inside of the front cover, like you would see on a screenplay. That's great. And the whole thing appears to be in Courier font. So we got chapters. So just the chapters on the disc, basically. Yeah. So just the chapters on the disc, and then the main credits. But then you have Long Strange Trips, which is the essay by Amy Taubin, and On the Origins of My Dinner with Andre, which is written by Andre, Gregory, and Wallace Shawn themselves, and then some information about the transfer. So yeah, actually that whole thing of the print rubbing off continues through. That's just a nice little visual attention to detail. I like that. It gives it a nice bit of authenticity. So not a lot to look at in here. It's mostly just all text. I guess they really just wanted to stick to that kind of, screenplay manuscript type of idea, which is cool. Oh, look at that. We even got coffee stains on there. I love this kind of stuff. But it's great. They talk about how, when they were trying to figure out how to make the movie and how to write it, they basically just sat down and had, like, conversations. Initially, so just Wally and Andre just sat down and talked about stuff, and just kind of took notes of the things that they came up with that they thought were the most interesting, and then formed the screenplay out of that, essentially. So, man, to be a fly on the wall to hear some of those formative conversations, I tell you, because the things these guys talk about are just so engaging and so interesting. So, My Dinner with Andre, highest possible recommendation. I think everybody should see this movie at least once in their lives. Next up, last but most certainly not least, this one crossed my radar just through, doom scrolling, essentially. I think it showed up as a clip on, like, a Facebook reel or something. So, this is the signifyin works of Marlon Riggs. Now, Marlon Riggs was a filmmaker and activist who died quite young, actually, very tragically young. He was a young, gay, black man who was very outspoken about civil rights issues, and in the mid-'80s, he decided to pick up a camera and do a series of documentaries about his experiences not only with racism, but also with homophobia, and also just life as a black gay man in the 80s, essentially. So it was pretty cutting-edge stuff for the time period when there was still a lot of, like, I don't know, misinformation about being gay and stuff like that. There was the whole AIDS scare, and yeah, so there's that aspect of it. But the thing that really struck me was a clip I saw from a documentary he did called Ethnic Notions. Now, Ethnic Notions, it's only an hour long, but what it is it is a deconstruction of how pop culture and media has essentially been weaponized over the past 100 years or so since the slaves were emancipated, to essentially keep the black people oppressed. And it is A, incredibly eye-opening, and B, incredibly heartbreaking, and C, incredibly terrifying, seeing just how effective this systematic, oppressive campaign over generations has essentially programmed the American people to continue to oppress and suppress black people. I mean, if you just kind of look at what's going on in the current political climate, some pretty racist shit happening. So in this case, with Ethnic Notions, it goes into into a lot of detail about how popular culture was essentially used to spread propaganda and hate and mistrust and stereotypes about black people. So, funny enough, when I purchased this, it arrived in my mailbox about 2 days before Black History Month this year. So, guess what I was watching during Black History Month? And holy shit, like, it really, like, just blew me away. When you sort of see it all broken down and realize how true it is, like in terms of how these stereotypes have been perpetuated and weaponized, it's crazy, like just how effective that kind of subversive propaganda actually is. So I can't recommend this highly enough. If you're at all interested in Black history, you got to pick this up. And this was the one that was fairly inexpensive. I think it only cost me about 26 bucks, which is ridiculously cheap for a Criterion release here in Canada. That's 26 Canadian, by the way. So let's flip it around here. This is actually a really nice set too. I can't believe how inexpensive it was, but it was a really nice set. Let's just quickly go through the contents here, and I'll give you kind of a rundown. So the signifyin works of Marlon Riggs, covering his unfortunately quite short career from 1986 to 1995. We have Ethnic Notions from 1986, Tongues Untied from 1989, Affirmations from 1990, Anthem from 1991, Color Adjustment from 1992. That's actually a follow-up to Ethnic Notions, so it continues to explore stereotypes and sort of the perpetuation of these stereotypes in popular media, kind of from where Ethnic Notions left off. No, je ne regrette rien, No Regret from 1993, and Black is, Black ain't from 1995. There has never been a filmmaker like Marlon Riggs, an unapologetic gay black man who defied a culture of silence and shame to speak his truth with resounding joy and conviction. An early adopter of video technology, Riggs employed a bold mix of documentary, performance, poetry, and music in order to confront the devastating legacy of racist stereotypes, the impact of AIDS on his community, and the very definition of what it means to be black. Bringing together Riggs' complete films, including his controversy-inciting queer landmark Tongues Untied, and Black is, Black ain't, the deeply personal swan song that was completed after his death at the age of 37, the signifyin works of Marlon Riggs traces the artistic and political evolution of a transformative filmmaker whose work is both an electrifying call for liberation and an invaluable historical document. Yeah, to say that these documentaries are powerful and affecting and eye-opening is a vast understatement that does not nearly do them the justice they deserve. At the very least, I highly recommend everyone out there watch Ethnic Notions. If nothing else, watch Ethnic Notions. It's only an hour long, and it is an hour-long documentary that you will absolutely never forget. Seriously, check it out. Let's just go through the special features here. So new high-definition digital masters of all 7 films with uncompressed monaural or stereo soundtracks. 4 new programs featuring filmmaker and editor Christiane Badgley, performers Brian Freeman, Reginald T. Jackson, and Bill T. Jones, filmmakers Cheryl Dunye and Rodney Evans, poet Jericho Brown, film and media scholar Raquel Gates, and sociologist Herman Gray. Excerpts from a 1992 interview with director Marlon Riggs, brief introductions by Riggs to Tongues Untied and Color Adjustment, Long Train Running, the story of the Oakland Blues from 1981, Riggs' graduate thesis film, Introduction to Riggs from 2020 featuring filmmakers Vivian Kleiman and Shakith, and Ashley Clark, curatorial director of the Criterion Collection, I Shall Not Be Removed, The Life of Marlon Riggs from 1996, a documentary by Karen Everett, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by film critic K. Austin Collins. So, yeah, quite a loaded set for 26 bucks, I'm sure you'll agree. Let's take a little look inside here. So there we go. there. So it's essentially kind of a digipack. Quite a thick booklet with it as well. So there we go, a little poem there. And if we pop out the discs, I think it's the same underneath. Yeah, it's basically just a continuation of the poem. Or the same. It's the same. Okay. So we'll just put these back in here. And we take a look. I'm just going to make sure there isn't nudity. I think we're okay. Yeah, so Signifyin Works of Marlon Riggs. This is a beautiful full color book. Yeah, there we go. Ethnic Notions. That's what I was talking about. Here, let me just read the description here because I really think this one is an absolute must-see. Yeah, 1986, 58 minutes. In his first major work, a brilliant and disturbing deconstruction of the ways in which anti-black stereotypes have permeated nearly every aspect of popular culture, Marlon Riggs brings viewers face to face with the insidious images that have shaped America's racial mythologies. Through razor-sharp historical analysis and powerfully deployed imagery, Ethnic Notions illuminates with devastating clarity how dehumanizing caricatures of black people, seen everywhere, from children's books to films to household products, have been used to uphold white supremacy and to justify slavery, segregation, and the continuing oppression of African Americans. In its refusal to look away, this Emmy-winning documentary, narrated by Esther Roll, has become an essential text for understanding the origins of American racism. Yeah, it just frickin' blew me away when I saw it. So, yeah, so there's little features about each of the documentaries on here, and it's quite wonderful. This is such, yeah, this is color adjustment, which goes into specifically television and stuff like that, and how black people have been portrayed on television over the years, and in sitcoms and whatnot. It's really, really interesting. Great companion piece to Ethnic Notions. And there's Black Is, Black Ain't, which is the last film completed posthumously, and one of the few in which Marlon Riggs actually appears in it. He generally preferred to stay behind the camera, but for some of his films he did appear on camera. So here we just have an essay about the man himself, and yeah, I mean this is such interesting, fascinating stuff that I cannot recommend highly enough. I need to watch the rest of them, but yeah, it's fantastic, beautiful imagery throughout here. Yeah, there's no reason for the shame. Some very powerful messages in here, like it's, yeah, if it doesn't affect you, then you have no heart. Seriously, like, like, just reconsider all your life choices if this doesn't, you know, affect you in some significant way. This presentation is now completed. Yeah, it's such a good set. Like, it really, I can't say enough good things about this. So, yeah, once again, if you're even marginally interested in black history, this is an absolute must-buy. So, just to sum up, got the Signifyin Works of Marlon Riggs, Real Life, and My Dinner with Andre. So, honestly, a pretty powerful trio of selections this time around. I mean, it's technically a comedy, but it's also a biting satire of reality television before it even existed. This is just the most fascinating conversation ever, which, you know, it has some very thought-provoking and serious moments. It's also very funny, but very poignant as well, and absolute must-see in my opinion. And finally, the Signifyin Works of Marlon Riggs, which, well, I think I've already said everything I can say about it off the top of my head. Absolutely essential viewing for anyone interested in black history and how racism has evolved in America. Might give you some idea as to why things are the way they are now, and what kind of helped to lead up to that and to perpetuate that. So, yeah, good stuff. Gotta love the Criterion Collection. I just really wish I could afford to get more of them. But I pick and choose and try to pick the creme de la creme. And so far, I think I've picked pretty well. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Until then, sayonara.